So lying or sitting and making yourself comfortable, just start with the first few breaths. Just dropping into your body, feeling the breath move through you. Your lungs expand and relax. Your ribs may lift and lower. Your abdomen may also expand and relax. And as we arrive here today, similar to how we really let go into the support of the surface last week, we're going to grow that practice a little bit. So just feel the weight of your right arm, and a couple times just take the weight of your arm off the ground. And I'm purposely not saying lift your arm, because I don't want you to raise it more than maybe 1/4 of an inch, so that your arm sort of lifts, but parts of it might stay in contact with the floor. So you're unweighting your arm, and then you're letting it go. And really let it go each time. Unweighting it, that little sense of lifting, and then maybe with the exhale, just dropping it, fully letting it go. One more time. Unweighting the arm and weighting it. Just letting the constant invitation of gravity support you here, now. And then just take a moment and feel the difference between your right arm and your left arm. Just those little movements may or may not allow you to feel a little different sensation of relaxation or support with the right arm. And then do the same with the left arm, just 3 or 4 times. Unweighting it, barely lifting it, and just letting it go. And each time you let it go, notice when your mind begins to prepare for the lifting again. And see if you can just pause a little longer in the letting go phase. Sometimes it can be nice to time it with the exhale and add that little emphasis with the exhalation, breathing all your air out and just pausing before the next inhalation comes. And then do the same thing with your right shoulder. So you're not lifting your whole arm off the ground, just lightly, almost imperceptibly, lifting the right shoulder the tiniest bit towards the ceiling and letting it go. Just dropping it down 3 or 4 times, feeling the whole support of the floor. And then, before going on to the left shoulder, just taking a little mental note, any differences between the right and left sides. And then doing the same with the left shoulder. I remember hearing a story in my Feldenkrais training where a famous dancer, and I apologize for not knowing the name, but This dancer, I believe he was male, before performing would spend a great deal of time sitting in a chair, just practicing lifting his limbs over and over until he got that perfect sense of lightness, grace, and effortlessness. And then, and only then, he knew he was ready to perform. Now bring your attention down to your lower back. It tends to curve away a little bit from the floor. And just sort of arch your back up, like you're pushing your belly a little bit towards the ceiling. And then let it go. Let it drop back down to the floor. So you're kind of tightening just barely. Just a whiff of tightness in those low back muscles and releasing them, letting them get long, reminding them that they may have actually started tight. Here you are lying down, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing special to be, but often those muscles are ready, they're prepared. And they live in that constant readiness, which is fatiguing, tiring, contributes to a sense of achiness. So just see if you can invite them to let go just a little. And then bring your attention down to your hips and buttocks muscles. So we're not really going to lift our hips. That would be more work than is required in the moment. But just maybe tense your buttocks muscles a little bit. Just a little bit of tightening and relaxing. And just notice with each relaxation and letting go into the floor, if maybe there's a little bit more softness. And then bringing your attention downwards to your thighs and your knees. Focusing on the right leg. Just lift the right knee just a little bit towards the ceiling on the inhalation. And letting it go fully into the support as you exhale. Again, just 3 or 4 times. Letting it go. And you can do this whether your knees are long, straight, supported by a pillow, or if you've decided to bend your knees up, which sometimes is a more comfortable position for the low back. And when you've done that a few times on the right leg, pause and just compare to the left leg. And then before moving to the left leg, let's stick with the right leg and just lift your foot or your heel just a little bit away from the floor. And again, it might not even be that it lifts, but just some of the weight is taken off. And then you give all the weight back to the floor, just fully surrendering. And when you've done the right knee and the right foot a few times, And again, tuning in to any differences that you may or may not perceive from the right side to the left side. And when you're ready, begin with the left side. So in many of the practices that we'll do together, you'll notice that I'll frequently invite you just to notice. Do you feel differences or don't you? So Feldenkrais, and pretty much everything I do is influenced by the Feldenkrais method, even if it's not directly that, is an invitation to get to know very small nuances of your physical movement and sensations. And one of my mentors, Russell Delman, will often say that our body is one of our greatest allies to the present moment. So anytime we can drop into some way of getting back in touch with feeling the support that our body is receiving at any moment, or just shifting our attention to areas of our body that aren't distracting with pain, but it can take us out of the busy, worry thoughts of the mind. So you've probably done your left knee, working on your left foot a little bit. And then just kind of randomly play with this unweighting and weighting of sort of each of the parts that we've done. You could go in order like we did, so it could be right arm, right shoulder, left shoulder, low back, buttock, legs. Or you could just sort of randomly lift and relax different parts, but just be a little playful. And notice when you're planning ahead 2 or 3 steps of what you're going to lift, and see if you can drop back into just being present with this current lifting and really feeling the letting it go before deciding what to lift next. The mind is very good, at least mine is, at planning several steps in advance. Russell Delman also says, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a horrible master. And once or twice, just include your head in this lifting and lowering, and not lifting, but just that little bit of unweighting, as if you were preparing to lift your head, but you weren't going to fully lift it. Just that little bit of unweighting, and then really letting it go. Letting those neck muscles in the back fully surrender. And just a couple more, just regular breaths, exhales, giving your weight fully to the ground. And then we're just going to sit up for a moment before going into the next practice. But as you sit up, and we're not going to sit in chairs or anything, as you sit up, keep your attention on the weight and the support of the ground, the weight through your bottom. If your hand needs to push, really connect your hand into the floor and into the ground. And just sort of sit for a moment, soft eyes, don't make eye contact with anyone, but just let yourself be present in this weighted, surrendered way.